Hi, Vicky here. I just had a moment where something popped in my head, and I thought, you know what, I'm going to get this on video and on recording, and perhaps on a podcast episode. Because as I speak right now, we are waiting for results on our election in the United States. And I'm seeing all of the reactions. Of course, we're having them, right? It's nerve-wracking, quite frankly, to not know what the outcome is. And this is a concept that I've thought of before, but have not talked about. And I thought, I'm just going to do this. I'm going to freestyle, have no plan for this. So let's see where it goes. And I thought, this is about patience. We have completely lost patience, at least in this culture, that I'm seeing. I call it the drive-through practice. Like, we're so used to placing our order, going up to the window, having it handed to us, and be able to drive away in 3 minutes or less. They even have timers in the restaurants that the staff are supposed to get you out in a certain amount of time or less. And I feel like this has contributed to, like, instant gratification, a certain sense of entitlement, and also kind of a loss of appreciation for the middle of a journey. Like, it doesn't take very long to get from that recording the microphone up to the window. So somewhere in our brain, it's reinforced that this is how it must be. Even if you don't frequent those, I don't tend to unless coffee's involved, but we have this perception that we must be waited on. It's so egotistical. It's so full of ourselves. And when I see that, people are so upset about the ballots aren't counted yet, or things aren't in a timely fashion, or start counting, stop counting, I feel like there's this lack of manners that's going on. And I think we need to be reminded of the joy of patience, of the beauty that can be in those middle ground, part of the journey, if you will. So with all of this going on, and I found myself kind of winding into it, I'll admit that, and then realizing, wait, this is not what you do. This is not the practice that you participate in if you want to have a certain sense of calm about your life. And also a bit of a reverence about the process, right? Have you ever heard that expression that it's about the dash? What it's referring to is that space in the middle between when you were born and when you croak. So it is about the dash. It's not about running to the finish line, to get there and say, ooh, I did it in, 20 years or less. It is about that middle piece. But I just think that patience has been done away with. And we have this message of overnight success, lose those 50 pounds in a week. Yeah, that's not happening. You can have the business of your dreams. If you just give me $10,000 for a weekend, I'll train you. Oh, and the weekend practice of you can be certified to work on people energetically just by coming in for 8 hours of consultation or teaching. Oh, don't even get me started on those. So what is it about patience that's so stinking difficult? Because when it's cultivated, it is a skill set. It is so amazing. Waiting in line at the grocery store, I see people get upset and I think, wow, I'm being given this opportunity to just stand here to observe what's going on. I can't get too riled up about anything because I can't go anywhere anyway. So why don't I just appreciate where I am? Some of that may come from the very real belief I have that if I'm stuck in traffic, or if the line isn't moving, or even if I forget my keys and I have to run back in and get them, or something along those lines, I truly believe that there's something conspiring in the universe that's keeping me safe, that's helping me to miss that car accident or to fall on some ice or whatever the case may be. I don't need to know what that is. I just need to be appreciative that when I'm in those experiences, that there's something greater that I just don't know about and I'm not privy to, and it's fine. And it's not about being passive. I'm actively waiting. Like, I will actively pay attention because I had to build my own patience. And I feel like this is something that perhaps we've gotten away from in this make sure nobody's feelings are hurt world. I can't happen either. And it shouldn't, because disappointment leads to ingenuity. So if we take that away, so if we take patience away, we're just anxious, neurotic, mouthy, short tempered poops. So this process already built into our lives. Like, we don't go from kindergarten to 12th grade in 1 year time, right? So there is a premise already here. And I'm just really suggesting that each of us on an individual basis start appreciating that a little bit more, that the time it takes to get there may in fact be the gift, because you get to absorb more, you get to learn more. In business success, I know you hear about overnight successes, but likely that person has either been working behind the scenes for years, they've been apprenticing. If it's a musician, I promise you they've been practicing, and they've been, working on their craft. So this overnight success thing, or that success is going to be where your joy is, it won't. No matter what and how life looks, the joy of this process comes from within. Okay, external success is fantastic, and it definitely does help in the process when you can pay your rent and your cover your expenses. But likely that isn't going to be what brings you an appreciation about your own life. And it's certainly not going to be the connection that talks to your soul and your soul talks back to. And this is fulfillment. This is why I'm here, because each of us are here to experience the joy of connection with our soul. It's the truth with relationships too. People will often say to me when they want to meet a partner, when will I meet them? Where will I meet them? How will I know it? And I'm like, no way am I taking that away from you. That joy, that lit up energy, even if I see it, I'm not going to tell you. I may suggest that you stick with online dating, or that you go to a particular group, or that you join a kickball league. I may suggest something along those lines. But it's just like when you're working out and the first part is always so hard, and maybe planks are always hard, but you hold them for just a little bit longer and you commit to it and you practice. It is because you committed to yourself and you were patient with the results that you feel so good. It's not the six pack. It's not even completely about the conditioning. I do appreciate the fact that, when I can hike up a hill or do a 25-mile bike ride with no issues, I understand that that's because I've put the effort in beforehand. However, it really is because I've taken it incrementally and had some patience with my own body and its challenges. So I'd like for people to get engaged with and excited about the process, about letting the cake completely cool before you put icing on, because if you've rushed it, you know what I'm talking about. That developing a sense of self is a many lifetime process. So having some patience with the effort that you need to put in, with the meetings with yourself, it's going to carry over to having patience in waiting for a job offer to come in. And when you combine this with intuitive abilities, which everyone has a certain level of, it's given to you in your soul suitcase. When you combine that with an intuitive self, there's a trust that happens in the universe. There's a trust in the process. And that trust, that feeling of calm throughout, is worth way more than instant gratification. The feeling that you've earned something is wired within us. And while there may be some personalities that are just the gimme personality or the entitled personality, most of us are wired in a way where accomplishment feels amazing. And if you want to develop your intuitive abilities, you want to get good with this process and with this concept of patience. Because if it all popped open in one fell swoop, you wouldn't be able to handle it and you'd fry your motherboard. And there are examples of people out there who have fried their motherboard because they just amped up the energy too fast. Where in your life could you use a little bit of patience? Most of the time, it's going to be with ourselves, and turning down that critic. But what about the patience with your kids? What about the patience with a coworker or the traffic or a project that you're working on? A lot of the times when I'm working on my felting, sometimes I have to put it down so I don't throw it across the room, because whatever face I'm creating or whatever shape I'm creating just doesn't come out. And that's because I'm not in alignment with it. I'm forcing it. I'm not allowing for the creative juices to flow and to come through in an appreciation and even a joy of the process, until I poke my finger, because that still is not joyful. But once I put it away, I walk away and maybe I don't come back to it for 2 or 3 days. But then when I pick it up, I'm like, oh, there's the face. It's been sitting there the whole time. And then you just sculpt it and it shows up. It's that patience and being willing to walk away from it that often, with energy, allows things to come into fruition. Because if you're constantly pushing against something, you're actually creating a resistant energy, and energy meets energy. If you're pushing that something has to be done, the energy force is going to meet up with it and it's going to push against it. Oftentimes, when we surrender and we realize that I need to step away, I need to disengage, I need to take a little break, amazing things can happen. And this is true in relationships. This is true in manifesting that career or business or whatever your income potential is. It's true in physical, it's true in the spiritual, it's basically true across everything. But it is a skill set that needs to be learned. And if it's not taught or it wasn't taught to you by those in your life, maybe you were raised by hotheads or people who blew off at everything. Maybe you were part of the generation that got a trophy just for showing up and sucking oxygen. You didn't learn patience. You didn't learn to get on that field again and again and again so that you could have the pride in self. The pride we have in ourself is a good thing. It supports us. It gives us a foundational sense of humanness. Often ego is out of balance when we're in bravado, when we're faking it till we make it. With patience and with even perseverance and really putting effort after effort, you get to see the results of your commitment, and that's being connected to life. And my knowing is that that's what we desire the most, is to be connected to ourself, our own life force energy, our soul, and that intelligence that resides within. So wherever your path is right now, whatever's going on in your world, if you're waiting for restrictions to be lifted around the pandemic, or if you're waiting for a contract to come through, or even a brilliant idea because you want to write a book, but it's not quite there yet, practice this patience, practice waiting, transfer it to in the store. We have to stay 6 feet behind somebody anyway. So that gives you a little bit of space. It gives you a visual representation of patience, of space. And once you're in that, you will find more joy in your life. So I hope this resonates with you. And if it's a matter of having patience with others, that does not mean that you allow poor behavior, but it does mean that you step back and you look at your participation. How are you contributing? Could something else be done? And then decide if a change needs to be made or effort needs to be put in or a conversation needs to be had. But this ability to not react, but to respond to situations is exactly what patience is used for. So have patience with yourself, have patience with whatever we're going through, and then use that space to be creative, to have fun, to listen to music, to go for a walk, to envision, to dream about what it is that you would like to have in your life, to see in your life, to experience in your life, and then be proud of yourself for having the patience to see it through. See you on the next episode.
Thank you for listening to this episode. If you're interested in Wisdom Wednesday, feel free to go to the website, vickibaird.com, and check under booking, and you'll find the information there to sign up for the subscription. I am so grateful that you listened to this episode and that you're participating, and I hope you have more of an understanding of how values and our intentions can lead to completing some goals, which then allows us to feel fulfilled. I wish you all the best and be well.